me to square things with you. Why are you making it so tough?
Who's square, Pop?
Cardwell was knocked out in the first. Who'd they bring in?
Bob Buell.
1956. Oh, that was a year.
Pass potatoes, please.
Something almost happened in 1956. We wouldn't be sitting around here today.
You beat stain your teeth.
We were on the road to Memphis. You were about 3 years old, Danny. You remember that?
Vividly.
It was raining cats and dogs. And the windshield wipers up front there, they're just working like a charm. And I said to your mother, I said, Audrey, I'm going to revolutionize the automobile industry. An idea as simple as a hula hoop and as practical as a paperclip. Who knows what it is?
Mud flaps?
No. Well, that's pretty good. But now see, try to think about the rear of the car.
Well, now, Ed, the only thing I can think of that you do in the rear of a car, I know you didn't invent.
Rear windshield wipers.
Give this young lady 64 silver dollars.
You invented rear windshield wipers?
Could have, should have, would have. Boy, I'm telling you. But your mother, she had to have a rest stop. Well, casting no aspersions. She was 8 months pregnant at the time. She was a little incontinent, if you know what I mean. So we stop, and I lose my train of thought. It wasn't until 2 years later till I see a pair on the back end of a Chrysler Imperial. I remember I invented them. This close, Danny, this close. I learned my lesson. You got to grab your opportunities when they come by.
Darling, pass a pizza, please.
Well, do they?
Do they what?
Stain your teeth.
Teeth. Let me tell you about teeth.
Dad.
The most beautiful teeth I ever saw were on a movie star, Esther Williams.
Dad, we've already heard the story.
I haven't. Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Okay, great. Tell it. Here in San Diego, it's 1951. Bobby Thompson's home run shot heard around the world.
Let him tell it.
No, it's okay.
MGM's making a movie down in San Diego, see? And guess who's down there?
Esther Williams.
Give the young lady 64 silver dollars.
Well, then what happened?
Ask your father.
You're in a coffee shop.
No. I was in the main dining room. I turned around. I couldn't believe my eyes.
He's gonna tell it.
Well, Dan, it's not like we haven't heard your stories 30 times.
What stories?
Oh, come on, Dan. How many times have I listened to the incredible story about how you were the first customer ever at the new supermarket?
I'll tell you, Dan, if you don't want to hear my stories, you don't have to hear my stories. As a matter of fact, you can freeze in hell before you hear another one of my stories.
Excuse me.
Come on, sit down. Dan, cool it.
I'll take care of it. I got us into this. I'll get us out of it.
Well, Ed, you're half right. You got us into it, and I'll get us out of it. Dan. You know, the statute of limitations on parental crime runs out when you're about 30. So he didn't invent the rear windshield wiper.
It's not a...
So he never really met Esther Williams.
It's not the windshield wipers. It's not Esther Williams. It's his fork.
What?
He holds his fork the same way I do. I hold my fork the same way he does. I'm him.
I think you're reading a little bit too much into silverware.
I'm sitting there at the kitchen table, honey, and I'm watching him, and I'm listening. And it's me, and I hate it.
Well, you know, Dan, if you didn't know Ed Connor and you just bumped into him, you'd go have a couple of beers and you'd talk about baseball, and he'd probably sell you a forklift.
You know what scares me the most? It's when he was 36 years old, he's right where I am today. That's me down the road.
No, that's him. Those are his choices. That's Ed.
Roseanne, I got a broken down truck, I got a broken down cement finisher. I hear myself telling the same damn stories 12 times.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying you're not boring. You know, you're just boring in a different way than your dad.
It's genetic. It's in the genes. You see him, you get me.
Well, maybe that's why I like him. You know, he has that certain virile Connor charm, you know? Come back in there with me. Come on.
Yeah, we might be missing a good story.
Allow me to introduce, making yet another appearance at our dinner table this evening, the lovely, the indefatigable Mr. Dan Connor and his lovely wife, Tammy.
Yeah, where were we?
I asked for the potatoes and you hit the road.
We'll ask him for the carrots and see what happens.
Carrots. I hate carrots. You know why?
Tell me.
Would you stop hogging all of these blankets?
Blankets. Let me tell you a little something about blankets. I came this close to inventing a blanket in 1969. It was right after Woodstock. And a guy named Navajo Joe up to me and says, I already invented a blanket, so he took it away from me. 1969, that was a great year, wasn't it? Woodstock, who was on the mound that year? Fergie Jenkins. Boy, what a set of choppers he had. You talk about teeth. But he went plumb idiot on me. And he went and sunk all his money into what you call a hairdryer stock. He tried to invent a 5-speed Fordo mix hairdryer, and he lost all his dough, see? And then he couldn't do nothing about it. So I ups to him. I says, Fergie, what the heck do you know about hairdryers anyway? So he goes, well, it gets windy in Chicago. I said, Chicago? Chicago, yeah, I was almost in the band Chicago. I used to mix their soundtracks for them. But I couldn't quite get it, see?
Good night, Ed.
Night. What the hell do you know about night? I was almost on the edge of night one time. Except I got my foot cut off in Vietnam, and see, and I couldn't quite make it to the audition. And the cab driver didn't speak English, so he didn't know what the heck. I was shut up in a cave one time. Merrimack Caverns, just south of St. Louis. It was me and 3 other guys.